You're driving alone on a rural Wisconsin road just after midnight. The music is low and the field outside are empty. Your headlight carves a narrow tunnel through the dark. Up ahead, you see something crouched by the side of the road. At first, you think it's a big dog, and it looks like it's eating some roadkill. Then, it stands up on two legs. It's taller than a man, thick, muscular, its fur matted and dark. Your long muzzle turns towards you, eyes glinting in the headlights. And you realize this is not a person in a costume, and it's definitely not a bear. No, it's not anything that you recognize from the natural world. As you roll past, you take a step towards the car, and you hit the gas, and in your rearview mirror, you see it drop back on all fours and lope after you along the gravel shoulder. Tonight, we're heading to a small road outside of Elkhorn, Wisconsin, a place where something wolfish, human, and hungry is said to stalk the fields. This is the story, the legend of the Beast of Bray Road. And this is the land of the Shadow People. I am your host, Eric. So turn off your lights, lock your doors. Now let's talk about Wisconsin's very own American Werewolf. Welcome back to Land of the Shadow People. If you like strange creatures, roadside encounters, and that uneasy feeling that something is watching you from the tree line, this is the episode for you. The Beast of Bray Road is a legendary cryptid, dogman, a werewolf, a hulking, fur-covered humanoid with glowing eyes that has been reported in southern Wisconsin for nearly a century. Most of the famous sightings cluster around a quiet county road outside of Elkhorn in Walworth County, but the story stretches across several nearby counties. In this episode, we're going to walk through the early histories and where the legends really started, dive into detailed eyewitness encounters, people who say they came face to face with the beast, and explore some ideas what this thing may be: spirit, cryptid hoax, or maybe perhaps something stranger. So let's start at the beginning. Long before Halloween joyriders started cruising Bray Road, hoping to catch a glimpse of the red eyes in the dark. Bray Road itself is not very long. It's a simple rural stretch that connects Highway 11 to a county road in and end outside of Elkhorn, lined with old family farms, cornfields, and small patches of wood. This is the kind of place where locals use every day, but at night, the traffic thins out, and that's when the story begins. The legend often traces back to 1936. A night watchman named Mark Shackman was working at St. Coletta's near Jefferson, Wisconsin, not too far from where the later sightings would cluster. On patrol one night, he noticed a shadowy figure at an old burial mound digging into the earth. He got closer. The figure stood up, and he noticed it was covered in dark hair, over 6 feet tall, and had a canine muzzle, pointed ears, and a body that looked more like a muscular man than an animal. Shackleman described a horrible stench like rotting meat, and a low, almost echoing growl that seemed to come from deep within its chest. For a long moment, man and creature stared at each other. Then it turned and ran impossibly fast into the trees. Shackleman came back the next night to the same area. According to the story, the creature appeared again, watching him from a distance before slipping away once more, leaving him with the impression that whatever it was had some intelligence behind those eyes. As we fast forward to the late 1980s, we come to Elkhorn as a quiet community, and Bray Road is just another rural shortcut until multiple people start reporting something very strange along the route. One local farmer, Scott Bray, claimed he saw a strange looking dog in his pasture near Bray Road around 1989. This was no normal dog. He described it as a large and tall German Shepherd with gray, black furs, pointed ears, bushy tail, and a bulky chest that made the front of it seem unnaturally powerful. He tried to follow it, and it led to a pile of rocks before it vanished, leaving behind huge footprints in the soil. Around the same time, residents reported seeing a large, wolf-like creature crossing the road on two legs, crouched on the roadside, eating roadkill or lurking on the edge of the fields at night. These reports eventually caught the attention of a local journalist and researcher, Linda Godfrey, who started gathering stories and helped push the Beast of Bray Road into the national spotlight as a modern American werewolf legend. In this segment, let's slow down and walk through some of the classic encounters in detail. The kind of stories that stay with you when you're driving a lonely back road at night. One of the best encounters involved a young woman driving along Bray Road on a rainy night, sometime around the late 1980s, early 1990s. She felt a car lurch as if she hit something in the road. Concerned she might have struck an animal, or worse, a person, she pulled over and got out to see what was wrong. There was nothing in the road, but as she looked towards the ditch, she saw something rising up from the tall grass. A massive, wolfish figure standing upright on two legs. It was broad-shouldered, covered in dark fur, staring right at her. Panic kicked in. She ran back to the car, climbed in, and hit the gas. As she sped away, she felt a heavy impact on the back of her car. The creature had leapt onto her trunk, trying to hold on even as the wet metal and rain made it slip. She finally managed to shake it off and drove straight home, shaken and terrified. Later inspections reportedly found scratches and marks on the trunk, adding enough physical evidence to make the story harder to dismiss as pure imagination. Other drivers described slightly less dramatic but equally chilling encounters. One woman saw the beast simply crossing Bray Road in front of her car, illuminated in the headlights. Tall, furry, unmistakably bipedal, before dropping down on all fours and disappearing into the field. Another driver saw it crouched on the side of the road, hunched over to be what appeared to be an animal carcass. As the car approached, the creature lifted its head, eyes glowing in the light, showing a long muzzle and sharp teeth, standing and stepping towards the road as if it may challenge the vehicle. Reports are not limited to the drivers, though. One story tells of a young girl who encountered the creature in the woods. She described being chased through the forest by a tall, wolf-like figure that ran upright, crashing through the underbrush behind her. She made it home, but the experience left her terrified and deeply shaken, and unwilling to go back into the woods alone. There are also accounts of the beasts coming uncomfortably close to people's homes. One story, a woman claimed that the creature tried to break into her house and later attacked one of her horses, leaving a long gash across the horse's back. She found enormous footprints over 12 inches long around the property, as if a very large creature had been circling the farm. As you can see, these encounters have similar patterns. A creature larger than a man but shaped like a wolf or a dog. Something that's on all fours but sometimes also walking upright in a human posture. A feeling of intelligence and menace, like something is just not an animal that wandered into the field. While a big media wave hit in the late 80s and early 90s, people in southern Wisconsin still occasionally report sightings of dogman-type creatures within the region. Some of the more recent stories describe dark, upright figures seen standing at the edge of cornfields along rural roads. A pair of glowing eyes that are just beyond the headlights, too high off the ground to be a normal animal. Heavy bipedal footsteps and growls heard near county properties at night with no tracks that matched known wildlife. Some accounts place similar creatures in neighboring counties like Racine, Walworth, and Jefferson, suggesting the beast may not be tied to Bray Road alone. So let's talk about some theories here. Because when you strip away the fear and the fun of telling campfire stories, you're left with real questions. What could people actually be seeing on Bray Road? One theory is that it's misidentified wildlife, perhaps oversized dogs or wolf dog hybrids seen in the distance. Some people will say it's coyotes or wolves with mange, giving them that odd, patchy, unsettling appearance. Others claim that they're just bears rearing up on hind legs, which can look startlingly humanoid at the right angle and the right light. And then you add in nighttime, fear and adrenaline, and the power of suggestion of a local legend that has become well known. You have a fertile ground for people to interpret something natural as being something supernatural. On the other hand, believers point out some details that don't fit easy explanations. Witnesses consistently describe a creature that can move fluidly on two legs and appears comfortable doing so, not just briefly rearing up like a bear. The body is often described more human-like in its musculature, with broad shoulders and strong chest, arms that hang in a very un-dog-like way. Some classified the beast as a dogman, which is a broader category of canine humanoids that have been reported in various parts of the United States, similar to Sasquatch or Bigfoot. And with this view, this makes the Beast of Bray Road, not such a unique creature, but just one of the rare places where sightings cluster in enough to push the creature into public awareness. Others lean into more paranormal explanations, given that it's one of the earliest stories involving a creature digging into described as a burial mound, suggesting that it may be a guardian spirit to the land or to the burial ground. Perhaps a shapeshifter, much like the European stories of werewolves or the skinwalkers of Native American tales. The lack of clear tracks or bodies despite decades of sightings is used by some to argue that this is not a flesh and blood creature in the normal sense. And of course, there's also the theory of hoaxes, especially after the legend became well known and Bray Road turned into a hotspot for thrill seekers. Once the story gets big enough, you get people exaggerating mundane experiences, kids in costumes trying to scare each other, and misremembered details that grow with each retelling. But even when you strip those away, there are a stubborn core of quiet, consistent witnesses, farmers, drivers, locals, who gain nothing from telling the stories, and often genuinely disturbed by what they saw. So what do you think? Is the Beast of Bray Road just a misidentified bear or big dog, wolf-like hybrid? A hidden species of a true cryptid stalking the cornfields of southern Wisconsin? Or perhaps that spirit or guardian that is trying to protect old burial grounds and the land? Or is it just a persistent urban legend that refuses to die? The next time you're driving a dark, rural road, especially if you happen to find yourself near Elkhorn, Wisconsin, pay attention to what's outside your headlights. Is that a shape in the ditch or just a busted mailbox? Perhaps a deer? Or is it something taller, with a long muzzle and eyes that seem to be a little bit too intelligent? If you had your own encounter with the Beast of Bray Road, or perhaps some other shadowy creature watching from the edges of the road, I would love to hear your story. Send in your stories to landoftheshadowpeoplepodcast@gmail.com. Again, it's Laying the Shadow People podcast at gmail.com. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and hit the like, subscribe, and go ahead and share this episode. Until then, keep your eyes on the road, your door's locked. And remember, sometimes it's not what's in front of you that's what's facing you in the dark. Just be on the light.